soldiers, guess what? I'm back, and it's time for you to get up, get your pencil ready, get your mind ready, strap those boots on, and let's get down to some EOG boot camp review. Today, folks, it's day 1, and we're going to review some stuff about integers. So, I'm going to give you some handouts here. You're going to have some stuff to fill out. If you don't have one of these, it's all right. Just to review with you, we've got a table of contents we're going to be going over here for the next 10 days or so, and we're going to be filling these things in. So if you want to get your little paper printed off, you can. If you don't have your paper printed off, it's all right. We're going to do it anyway. So today we are reviewing integers. Are you ready, soldiers? I am, and here we go. Let's roll along here. Hi, hi, he. Here we go. All right, so first part up here in the top, folks, we're going to talk about and review some addition and subtraction sign rules, and then we'll come over here and do a few examples, and then we'll work our way down. All right, so first thing is, if they have the same sign, that means you want to add them. All right, if they have the same sign, you want to add. So here's a nice little example for that. So let's say we've got -4 plus -10 plus -11 plus -8. Okay? You can see there, soldier, how they all have the same sign. Okay? -4 plus -10 would be -14. -14 plus -11 would be -25. And -25 plus -8 would be a grand total of -33. Or you could put them together, you could say that right there is -14 for those two. And those right there would be -19 for those two. And then, of course, you just add those two together and you get -33. So if they have the same sign, you need to add them just like you normally would if they were positive numbers. Okay? Now, here is the key to the whole thing. This is where you soldiers get me a little worried here on this one. When they have different signs, all right, you are going to actually subtract them. All right. So on the same sign, of course, up here, we kept the sign, okay? So when they were all negatives, we just added them together and kept the negative sign. All right? Now, if they have different signs, here's the thing. You actually want to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. Okay? So, for example, here's what I'm talking about. Let's say we've got negative, we'll do a couple different examples of these, okay? Let's say we've got -16 plus 25. Okay, we'll start out with the easy one. You can see there that those have different signs, okay? So, if those are different signs, what you actually want to do is subtract them, which would be 25 minus 16, and of course, that would just give you 9. Because the sign of that one is a positive and 25 is bigger than 16. All right, let's come to one where you've got some subtraction or addition, but the negative one's bigger. So let's say you've got -27 plus 14. Okay, so on that particular problem, if you do -27 plus 14, those, of course, again, those are different signs, so we're going to subtract them. And we want to keep the sign of the larger number. So if I subtract those, that gives me 13. My bigger number is -27. So that means that is going to equal -13. Okay. Now let's do some where we've got some subtraction. Okay. So on subtraction, let's say we've got -13 minus 11. Now on that, okay, we're going to do some additive inverse to that. Okay, we're going to do additive inverse. So of course that means I'm going to rewrite that as -13 plus -11. Now when I do my additive inverse to that, and that becomes -13 plus -11, that puts them back. All right. So again,
puts them back to having the same sign. And when they're the same sign, you want to add them and just keep that sign. So negative 13 plus negative 11 is negative 24. All right, let's do one more. Let's say we've got 10 minus 22, okay? If you've got 10 minus 22 and we do additive inverse to that, that would be 10 plus negative 22. They have different signs, so when you've got different signs, you want to subtract them, which would give you 12. So we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So 22 is a larger number than 10, so that would be negative 12. Okay? Okay. On the subtraction problems, make sure you do additive inverse on them. So we'll write a little additive inverse on subtraction. Okay. So if it's a nice little easy add where they're all got the same sign, you just add them up. Keep the sign. You got different signs, okay? When you got different signs, you actually want to subtract them and then take sure you take the sign of the larger number. So if the positive number is larger, you're going to get a positive. If the negative number is larger, you're going to take the sign and get a negative. So there's some review, folks, on integer addition and subtraction. Of course, we're going to be applying some of that here in just a little bit, but that's just the basics. As we continue to go through today, soldiers, let's work our way down to the next part of the page. All right, so here we've got some blanks we want to fill in, and then we'll do our little examples down here. So let's say we've got a positive times a positive. So that would be a problem like this, all right? So let's say we've got the old 5 times 5. If they're both positive, 5 times 5, of course, equals what? That would be 25, and that answer, of course, is positive. So a positive times a positive gives you a positive product, all right? Well, what else will give you a positive product? Do you know? There is another one that gives you a positive product, and that would be a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. So that would be like negative 6 times negative 4. All right, so negative 6 times negative 4, a negative times a negative, would give you a positive 24. Okay, so what I want to write over here to the side of this is when they have the same sign, okay, same sign, you get a positive. Same sign here, you get a positive. So right down over here, same sign gives a positive product. Positive times positive is a positive. Negative times negative gives a positive. So when they have the same sign, it's going to give you a positive product. Can you see that all right, soldier? Let me back it up just a hair. Okay? Now let's go down here where we might have some mixed signs or different signs. So a positive times a negative, or it could come the other way around, a negative times a positive. All right, let's do this problem. Let's say we've got positive 7 times negative 5, or we could have negative 7 times positive 5. All right, doesn't matter whether the positive comes first or the negative comes second. Is that going to change our product? And the answer to that is no. What's a positive times a negative? That's going to give you a negative. And what's a negative times a positive? That is also going to give you a negative product. All right, so 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. And negative 7 times 5 is also negative 35. So it doesn't matter which one comes first. When you have different signs, you're going to get a negative product. Okay, so over here, right, different signs gives a negative product. Now it also works for division. Don't forget that. Okay, So these same things work for division. So a positive divided by a positive is a positive. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So whether it's multiply or divide, okay, rules are the same for both. So up there on the adding and subtracting part, okay, there are some different rules for add and subtract, okay. For multiply and divide, the rules are the same. A positive divided by a negative is going to give you a negative quotient. A negative divided by a positive also going to give you a negative quotient. All right, so here's a nice, neat, interesting little thing down here that, you know what, I'm an old dog and I learned a new trick here. So I'm going to show you this little tic-tac-toe board that you can remember how to use for multiplying and dividing integers, okay? So just come right here and put you a P and a P and a P. All right, so it looks like we've got tic-tac-toe here for positive coming this way, all right? So P in the upper left, P in the middle, P in bottom right. Put ends on all the rest of it. This is the neatest thing, and I just learned this. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Y'all know that. So a negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. It doesn't matter which way you go. It works every which way. It gives you the right answer for multiply and divide. Okay? If I come down this way, a negative times a negative is a positive. If I come this way, a negative times a positive is a negative. If I go this way, a negative times a negative is a positive. It doesn't matter which way you go. It's going to give you the right answer for multiply and divide rules. So that might be something that you can maybe stick on your EOG. You know, you stick it up there in the corner on your little sheet of paper, write it in the, write it on the test manual, whatever. That's a cool little thing. Never heard that before. So just remember, it's this little section right here where you get bingo. Okay, put bingo with your P's going that way. Put ends in all the rest of them, and it works no matter which way you go. Cool stuff. All right, so let's just review real fast again before I shut it down for today. And let's do this. Let's say we have got, let's do some divide ones. Negative 49 divided by negative 7. Okay? So we've got a negative divided by a negative. And a negative divided by a negative is going to be right here. A negative divided by a negative is going to give you a positive. So you can look right there. A negative divided by a negative is going to give you a positive. A negative divided by a negative is going to give you a positive. And of course that quotient would be 7. Okay? That would be 7. Let's say we've got fractions. How about that? We've got negative 3/4 times 2/5. Okay? Does it change any when you've got fractions? That's a good question. What's the answer to that question? Is that going to change anything? Nope. Okay? So negative 3 times 2 would give you negative 6. 4 times 5, of course, would give you 20. So that would be negative 6/20. And then, of course, you would have to simplify that down. You could divide both of those by 2. And that would give you negative 3/10 to simplify. All right. So remember, whether it's whole numbers, fractions, what about 1.2
times negative 0.8? Is that going to change if we've got decimals? It is not. Okay? A negative times a negative, still, if you go there, a negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. All right, so we know it's going to be a positive answer. And 12 times 8 is 96, so that would be 9.6 is all that would be. All right? And that is all we've got for today, soldiers. So here we go. We've now talked about some multiply and divide rules. We've reviewed our add and subtract rules. Hopefully that gets you going in the right direction with some of the things you're going to be working on today. And that, of course, is the end of day 1 boot camp. Hopefully you're going to earn you some points today on the point system so you can move up the ranks. So remember, every point you get counts towards you marching up to that next step on that ladder. So hopefully you can move all the way up to general. All right? Privates? Let's get after it. Have a good day, and let me know if you got any questions. Until next time, keep rolling along. This is General Reid saying over and out.